Okie dokie, and we are live. Welcome, boys and girls of all ages, ladies and gentlemen of all ages, stages, intelligence levels, including super intelligent small yellow teddy bears. Hello, boys and girls. Yes, Ted, will you go and do your thing? You go and twiddle the knobs as you normally do. Somebody has to twiddle the knobs and keep the knobs twiddled. It's very important that all the knob twiddling levels are as they should be. That's what we've been doing in the background, getting ready for the stream. And we're here to have some fun today, boys and girls. Yes, we are, because we're going to have I'm not even going to call it a debate. Let's call it a debate-style discussion. Potentially a meeting of the ways in various areas. Potentially some disagreements in others. My guest is Resident Raw, who has
Hello.
some opinions. And we all know about opinions, don't we, boys and girls? But anyway, I'm going to invite Resident Raw right off the bat to outline his position for today's discussion, or at least the starting point for it. Away you go.
All right, so I follow the primal diet created by Augenis Vonderplanets. I've been following it for over 4 years. It'll be 5 years late this year. And I come from a very unhealthy background. So when I was 14 years old, started doing drugs, started with cigarettes, marijuana, smoking a pack a day at 14, 15, mostly switched to vaping. And then at 15, my drug addiction got real bad. Started abusing amphetamines, tried crystal meth at some point. It was bad. And right around the time I turned 16, I started throwing up every single day. I would wake up, I would throw up, then I'd smoke weed, and my health was just extremely poor. I am 6'2". I have been 6'2" since I was 15, and at that height, I weighed 125 pounds. There's photos of me. You can find them on my YouTube channel. And shortly after this ends, I am going to be releasing a primal diet guide in which you can also see photos of myself. And I looked like a Holocaust victim. I was so malnourished. But anyways, 16 and some change, I started learning about health. I had a friend who was a carnivore, told me about the carnivore diet. And when he first told me about it, it made perfect sense. I was like, of course humans are supposed to eat meat. The example he gave me is if I put you in the jungle right now, what are you going to eat? It's not like you're going to eat the leafy greens on a plant. It's not like you're going to eat grass or whatever. You're going to go hunt an animal, eat it. Made perfect sense to me. Started learning about nutrition, tried out the carnivore stuff. And the carnivore diet actually made me lose weight. And that's when I realized it wasn't sustainable for me because I was 125 pounds. At some point before I started dieting, I made it up to like 140 pounds. And then I started doing the carnivore stuff and I dropped back to 125. I added fruit, and then the fruit made me get even skinnier. The fruit was just, fruit is like a solvent. It was basically dissolving my body. And then eventually I learned about Augenis Vonderplanets. And funnily enough, I learned about it through a mutual that I think you guys have some history. Frank Tufano.
Wank to famous, yeah.
I heard about Augenis through Frank Tufano. However, Frank Tufano does not support Augenis. Frank Tufano thinks that Augenis is a quack. He thinks that Augenis was crazy and whatnot. But the reason he's put Augenis on his channel is because in 2020 there was a little something going on, and Augenis had some comments about that. So he shared Augenis's views because something Frank Tufano likes to do is share other people's views, so he doesn't get in trouble. He's posted Ray P, Augenis, multiple different people. But anyways, started looking at Augenis stuff and started doing his diet. And with his diet, I gained a bunch of weight, got really healthy. The thing that was the key for me was raw dairies. You can see I'm drinking raw milk right now. And I ballooned. I ballooned up to 210 pounds. I am currently about 195 pounds, but I made it all the way to 210 pounds, which I believe is a very healthy weight for my height. It is about 10 pounds overweight according to the BMI scale, but I don't see any problem with that. But yeah, that's the outline. If you want to know exactly what I eat, I can expand unless you have some comments on everything I just said.
Okie dokie. All right. So, the framing of the discussion from where I sit, Resident Raw, is that you posted a video not that many moons ago, not that many days ago, which was entitled something along the lines of ignore the Randle Cycle, or why you should ignore the Randle Cycle. The message of your video purported to be that the Randle cycle was not something that you needed to be concerned about, not something that you needed to worry about, and that a large amount of carbohydrate in the diet was perfectly okay. But you wanted to correct me on that. You're telling me before the stream that that's not your position?
Yeah, I can elaborate. So
Okay.
the whole purpose of that video is from the perspective of the primal diet, where you don't have to worry about the Randle cycle because, as you know, milk is carbohydrates mixed with fat. And there's certain recipes on this diet, like the lubrication slash moisturizing formula, where it's honey, butter, eggs, lemon. And I don't see it as a concern whatsoever in the context of the primal diet. Now, I understand what the Randle cycle is. It's not really a cycle. It's more of an effect. It's something that's always continuously happening. You know, when you're primarily oxidizing fats for energy and you have a large amount of glucose that enters through your diet, you know, you eat a bunch of sugar, cells can't effectively, the cells can't effectively utilize the glucose. But I don't necessarily see anything wrong with consuming a small amount of sugar in its raw natural state, which comes from milk and fruit. But I have a perspective on fruit you might not have heard of before. But in the context of the primal diet, I just don't think it matters because I mean the amount of carbohydrates you have is small. And another thing is I don't believe that metabolic disorders or having a sub well, I'm not sure how to describe this, but I believe the cause of disease is toxins, mercury, aluminum, dioxins, you know, things that you are exposed to through or, you know, food like fish has a lot of heavy metals and whatnot. And, you know, you look at the human diet within the last 10,000 years, of course, we've degraded, we've become smaller, we've had tooth decay, but humans are combining lots of carbohydrates and fats, and our health only got extremely bad within the last 100 years. And the only thing that's really changed is now for fat, we consume vegetable oils and we have much more heavy metal toxicity in our body. So I believe the problem to be toxins, not necessarily the metabolic disruption that could come from combining fats and carbs. But even then, on this diet, this is a very low carbohydrate diet. You know, for the first 6 hours of the day or so, you know, you'll have maybe less than 10 grams of any kind of carbohydrate in your day. So it's very low. And as you know, meat, eggs does contain carbohydrate, but a very small amount. But yeah, that's my perspective on the Randle cycle and why I think it just doesn't matter.
Okay. Let's take one or two of the things that you said in your video and analyze those things. William, I'm very well aware of the audio issues. Thank you very much. The audio issues are caused by the fact that I am literally sitting outside in my yard in a metal box at the moment, using AI to try and clean up the audio as best as I possibly can so that I can stream at all for you people. Okay? A bit of respect for that would be appreciated. The reason for that is because my house is very full. The reason my house is very full is because somebody in my family had a very serious health issue recently, and we need extra people on hand to help out. Okay? So, people have lives going on, is what I'm suggesting. Anyway, let's take one or two of the things that you said, Resident Raw, in your video that were interesting and see if we can make sense of any of those things, shall we? Let's start with this. How does, exactly, a woman going through menopause talk? You've gone silent.
Oops. I didn't know until recently, but you put on an act in your videos. And, you know, a woman going through menopause, very bitter, very angry. And that's how you can be
All
in
women going
therapy.
through menopause are very bitter and very angry.
Well, not necessarily
Is that what
all
you...
of them.
All right, okay.
But I'm sure you've noticed women going through menopause will have mood issues. It's only natural because their hormones are changing so much.
Right. So you've never met a woman that's gone through menopause and not had mood issues?
Well, the only woman I've met that has gone through menopause is my mother, and she definitely suffered from some mood issues.
Right. So what we're actually dealing with, it seems, is a very severe lack of any kind of actual experience rather than any actual knowledge, A, of women, B, their hormones, C, their mood profiles, or D, what your place in the world is in that respect. Because the comment was, I think, vastly misogynistic and completely inappropriate. How would you like to respond to that?
Well, I mean, you can take it whatever you want. I wouldn't say it's misogynistic because it's not like I attacked the character of all women. I just said that, women going through menopause
But
sometimes have mood
but
issues.
hang on a minute though, Raw.
You can
Should we
call
just
me
call you by your
Leo.
name? That's better. Let's call
Leo.
you Leo. That's much better. Okay, since we've been invited to do that. You have described a 50-year-old man, as looking rough for 50, which, okay, that's an opinion, and we all know about opinions. It's not one I share personally. When I compare myself to my contemporaries, people I went to school with, who I'm still friends with, who are still connected with, who look pretty rough compared to me, I think. But you've also disparaged me because of the follicular challenge, rather than dealing with the actual substance of anything I've ever had to say. And you've compared me to a woman who's going through menopause, or suggested that I speak like one.
Well, I apologize for that. That was a little mean, but you understand the nature of YouTube videos and the nature of
I
clickbait.
absolutely understand it better than most. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
What I was
because
hoping for today was that you would come better prepared and do a much better job of having a debate style discussion than, for example, Richard Burgess did. Because once
well,
again, the other thing you did in your video was that you posted a bunch of short snippets out of my discussion with Richard Burgess completely out of their context, when I was
yeah,
being very, very direct and very instructive with that very silly young man,
I
and showing
understand.
him up to be the absolute imbecile that he is, without any question. And that was your kind of clickbaity approach to try and, I guess, get my attention or something, so that we could have it. All you needed to do was send me an email. I'll debate anybody at all, frankly.
That
As
wasn't the
it turns
reason.
out, in the comments here, it turns out there's at least one commentator here in my commentary that says Richard Burgess actually wiped the floor with you in a debate you had with him. So
Yeah.
that doesn't
So,
bode well for today, does it?
well, I can tell you about that. So, I was on a
Oh,
live
please
stream.
do. And yes.
I was just doing a casual live stream, and I found out that
Mm,
Richard Burgess, however you pronounce, I'm just gonna call him Vegan Gains. I found that
okay.
Vegan Gains was live, and my YouTube audience ended up rating his stream. So they ended up joining, and they're like, debate Resident Raw, and whatnot. And listen,
Yeah.
debating Vegan Gains is completely worthless. It's completely useless because he's lost. Like there's no hope for him. There's zero hope. You can't change his mind, and he's so deep into his studies and into his associations and all. It's over. But I was like, this is Vegan Gains. Vegan Gains is a infamous legend in the YouTube space. So I was like, I'll go debate him, because why wouldn't I? Free clout.
Mm.
I'm not, listen, I'm not ashamed to admit that. I did it, to bring more attention to my channel. And let me tell you something. I won that debate because I gained over 500 subscribers from that live stream. I got a
Yeah.
lot of exposure from that live stream, and I brought a lot of
Yeah.
people to my YouTube channel. And I
There's
think
nothing wrong
my
with clout
YouTube
chasing.
channel,
You can clout chase me anytime you like. All you needed to do was send me an email and say, hey, can I come on your channel and debate X, Y, or Z? And I would
well,
have said, yeah, sure.
I don't think I was doing that whatsoever, because listen, I'm not trying to be impolite at all, but
By calling
I'm pretty
me someone
sure
who speaks like a woman who's menopausal, going through menopause, that's not being impolite at all.
that was, but I mean, in this live stream specifically, I'm not trying to be
All
rude,
right, so
but
you're going to be impolite to me behind my back, but not to my face. At least when I'm rude to people, I'm rude to them right to their face, I think.
well, it's completely different when you're making a YouTube video. Again, you understand the nature of this stuff.
I do, absolutely, yes.
I'm just trying to be entertaining. It's completely different
Right.
because, again, I'm not a nasty individual, and you're not going to make me a nasty individual. Like that's just not how I am. But anyways, um pretty sure I have more live viewers than you. And your second channel, I understand it's your second channel. Your primary channel gets a lot more views, and I understand you say you're shadow banned or whatnot. I think you are benefiting more currently from me talking to you than the other way around. Just saying. Let
Wow.
me let me
Incredible.
check real quick. Let me check the stats real quick. Bear with me here.
Yeah. While that's happening, we can actually probably concentrate on more important stuff than, having a urinating contest that you can't win, by the way. Let's go this way. When I was suggesting that I was hoping that you would be better prepared and do better than Richard Burgess did in a debate-style discussion, what I meant by that was that you would be able to actually deal with the subject matter of the proposed moot, if you like, in this case, the Randle Cycle, carbs, widely, whatever. The reason that Richard Burgess is absolutely lost and hopeless in the debate, apart from his very serious ego problems, his very, very serious fragility, actually, he has one of the worst cases of Dunning-Kruger syndrome I've ever come across. Richard Burgess is a boy with no more than a high school diploma who thought, for some reason, God knows what, that he would prevail and do well in a discussion against someone like myself with more than 2 decades experience as a senior academic, teaching the topic I'm talking about, researching and publishing in that field, etc. He had absolutely not the first foothold of the material. And I'm going to suggest or invite you to give us a full rundown on the Randle Cycle that we do not need to worry about. You've given us a very brief overview. Why don't you give us the detail on how this thing works, exactly how it works, what the mechanism of it is, why it exists, you think, why is it that this thing has evolved, what does it do exactly, and by what mechanism does it do that?
Sure.
And I'm going to suggest to you that it might be a very, very good idea that your answer is very, very good. Because if it isn't, what I'm going to do is turn around and say, what business have you got talking about whether we should be worried about it or not if you don't understand the thing? How does that sound?
Sure. Well, my understanding of the mechanisms, of the mechanisms is definitely not as detailed as yours. I'm happy to admit that. But, you know, I understand the gist of it. When you are oxidizing primarily fat for energy, you consume glucose. The cells can't use it as easily for to put it into the cells. The cells can't put the glucose in the cells as efficiently when you're oxidizing primarily glucose. But again, it just doesn't seem to matter to me when you consider the fact that toxins are what primarily cause our health issues. And
okay, so that's a big I'll stop you there. That's a big in the question fallacy. That's your opinion that that's the cause, the underlying cause of, you suggested, all dysfunctions of the health. I don't believe that to be correct remotely, and one of us has studied human health for 20 plus years. So I'll stop you there and say, no, I don't think that's correct. Carry on.
Well, I understand that you're a professor. What are your credentials?
Professor.
Professor?
That's my credentials, that's my rank. If you want to know about my publication history, some of it is available to you publicly on any search engine you like. You can go and look up the papers that I've written and published as first author, whereupon you could also do some investigative work and deconstruct or reconstruct some of my employment history way back in the dim, dark past. These days, my occupation is farmer / online influencer. Yeah, I bought a farm. It'll be great.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm jealous. That's a success
story. It is, and it's not.
That's the goal.
It's great, and it's not. Trust me, there have been issues. Yes, I'm a farmer, I'm an online influencer, and I'm a marketer of nutraceutical products. Plus, I do private consultancies one-on-one with people who want second opinions or even first opinions about this, that, or the other thing relating to human health, the very thing that I am absolutely a demonstrated expert in.
Right. So
since we're asking about credentials and background and stuff, what's yours in terms of training, accreditation, study of any kind, publication record of any kind? You asked, so I'm going to ask, what's yours?
Well, I have no credentials, and I see no problem with that, because credentials are
neither do I, so long as what you say is correct. And so far, it hasn't been, because you've just said you believe all health issues are down to toxins, and that's false, demonstrably.
Well, don't you believe that glucose in the blood is a toxin?
Yes, I do. At the right level, yes.
So wouldn't you say... Of
course, it's the dose that makes any toxin.
Wouldn't you say that toxins are what cause health issues then?
Toxins can cause health problems, but toxins don't cause all health problems. Some health problems are not down to toxins.
The only other cause of health issues is nutritional deficiencies, which you'll obviously
That's
see in
absolute
vegans and
nonsense as
whatnot.
well, son. I'm sorry, that's wrong.
You don't believe that nutritional deficiencies cause health issues?
I did not say that. You said the only other cause that's not toxins is nutritional deficiencies, and that is also incorrect.
So
False.
what's the other cause? The other causes of health
Well,
issues.
give me a disease and I'll tell you what I believe the causes of it to be, because diseases also have all sorts of different causes, don't they? Clearly, you
Well,
don't think they do,
at
so
the
you're
end
not going to do
at,
very well at this particular quiz.
at the end of the day, it's toxin or nutritional deficiency. Like I'll give you a good example, diabetes. Diabetes is
Okay, so hang
mainly
on,
the pancreas.
just before we do that though, did you not just a few minutes ago suggest that Richard Burgess was no good in a debate because he was intransigent, intractable, and couldn't be moved off a position that was false?
Well, I am definitely willing to if information is good, I'll change it. But Richard, the reason I'm not specifically talking about his debate skills, I'm specifically talking about the fact that he's mentally gone. I mean, the dude's on steroids, he feeds his cat a vegan diet. He's completely
Yeah,
gone and he obviously
I agree with
ignores
you on Richard
reality.
Burgess. He's an absolute waste of skin. Yes, I agree. Richard
Mhm.
Burgess is absolutely pathetic beyond belief. And if anything, we should actually feel sorry for the boy because he's mentally
I
unwell, in
do.
my opinion.
I do. And let me tell you something about my debate. Near the end of it, my audience was telling me to rage bait him and whatnot. I couldn't bring
Uh huh.
myself to do it because I genuinely feel sorry for him. I feel so because I think about how miserable and horrible his existence must be. He's in his house, he does pornography for a living. He shakes his ass on camera for $50 or $20 or whatever he charges for it. He's on steroids.
Mm
He eats all this vegan food. I mean, I feel horrible for him. Like that's
hmm.
just
Mm hmm.
horrible. That's a horrible thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Absolutely.
my point though isn't that he's bad at a debate because here's the thing, he knows what he's doing. I hope you understand that he knows that by getting on your stream he's just getting more attention because even though Vegan Gains is an infamous legend in the space, he has over 100,000 subscribers. He's
No, he has over
irrelevant now.
350. He has over 350,000 subscribers.
He has a lot of
Actually,
subscribers, but if you look at his live streams, he's lucky to reach 100 viewers. And
well,
even
that's no
then, how
surprise because what he says is absolute pustulous excremental garbage.
right. And even then, how many of those viewers do you actually think support him? I'm sure plenty of people watch him just to laugh at him.
Yeah.
Because here's
Yeah.
one thing. When I did the live stream with Vegan Gains, people went into my comment section and started doxing him, putting his home address. And those people are obviously banned from his live stream. So clearly there's people watching
Right.
his live stream that don't like him. But
Mhm.
my point isn't that he's necessarily bad at a debate because, listen, I'm fresh meat. I'm 21 years old and I don't consider this to be a debate, but this is the second debate, if you will, I've ever done. And,
How's
I'm
it
not the
going for you so far?
debating.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going well
Because
for me.
apparently you got mopped up by Richard Burgess. I just thought I'd remind you of that again.
That's what they say, but again, I got a bunch of
Of course,
subscribers from it.
every time you have a debate with anybody, the people that support person X say person X won, even if they didn't, and the people that support person Y say person Y won, even if they didn't. However, in any debate against Richard Burgess, if there is genuinely any question as to who won the debate, you haven't done very well, Leo. I can promise you.
Sure, but here's
Hope
the
you do
thing.
better today. I
Sure.
really do. I wish the best for you.
Did you see the Face IQ part of the debate when Face IQ joined?
No, I have
So
no
Face
interest
IQ,
in anything Face IQ has to say. He's an idiot.
I understand, and I definitely do not agree with Face IQ's dietary views. Now he's become, he's Paul Saladino maxed. But here's the
Hmm.
thing: he joined the debate near the end, and people say, "Oh, Face IQ wiped the floor with him." All Face IQ did to Vegan Gains was make him angry. All he was like, "Oh, how is a diet that's nutritionally deficient good for you?" And then he started calling him
Is that not a fair
bald or
question,
whatever.
eh? Is
It's
that
a
not a
fair
fair question?
it's a fair question, but then
Huh?
but then Vegan Gains would I forgot what he said, but Vegan Gains, clapped back and said some shit, and then Vegan Gains just got pissed. He was like, "Oh, is
Right.
this is impressive to you?" He got pissed. He got pissed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Face IQ, he started calling, he's like, "Oh, you're bald," or I don't know, I forgot, but either way, all he did was piss him off,
Richard
and
isn't
that
bald though.
he's balding. He's got a little bit of
They're
a
balding. Okay.
He's got a little
Yeah.
bit of
I
that
would I would I would
Norwood.
take homage to anyone calling Richard Burgess bald. Balding, perhaps. He's not bald, though. Okay. All right. Very good. Let's deal with this comment here from this obviously intelligent individual here who says, I'm on my way to blabber my religious and imaginative beliefs and rebrand it as science. Yes, it's very interesting because I'm an agnostic. I have no religious beliefs of any kind. I'm open to every possibility in that regard. Um,
I will
Imaginative,
say
well, why
you
would why would imaginative be negative? Go on then. You want to say something? Go on.
Yeah, you are as libertarian as it gets. I don't think I've ever met a person
Correct.
that fits the libertarian definition better than you, which, fine enough. I think politics is all, a joke, but yeah, I agree. Do whatever you want. You should be allowed to do whatever you want. But yeah,
Yeah.
the agnostic label definitely fits you.
Yeah, I'm agnostic in terms of theology. I'm libertarian in terms of politics. I'm libertarian in terms of my behavior towards my nearest and dearest around the place. I do have an online act that I play for hooks. It's clickbait, basically, on the interwebs. But that person is a fictional character, and anyone that can't see that needs their head read. And rebranding these imaginative beliefs that I apparently have as science, well, it's completely inaccurate. What I actually do when I speak about science is I outline what the accepted epistemological discipline standards are of science and what they have been since the scientific method was first proposed, at least in any formal way, by the ancient Greeks, well over 2,500 years ago. And those rules haven't changed. Why would they? Sure, science has advanced as it does. It was designed to. However, the epistemological standards of science remain what they are. So basically, nature purified. Thanks for helping with the algorithm. Thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us some grist for our humour mill. And I would now invite you most cordially to pop yourself directly off somewhere else. Bye-bye. And do not pass go or collect $200 because
Well,
insolence is not welcome here.
I
Bye.
can I can comment on something he said. So this is
Mm,
something I wanted to make clear. I do not buy into modern science whatsoever, and you are obviously very much aware that 99% of scientific literature is just pure bullshit. And
I
what
think you're
I
short there by about 1%.
Yeah,
It's all
I probably
nonsense,
am.
all of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. Mm,
And I think it's fair to say that modern science, in a way, is a religion because, you think about the Quran, the Bible, you
mm,
read it and you're supposed to just believe it without any. Well, there's some evidence for certain stuff, but without, solid evidence, you're just supposed to believe it. Specifically the Quran. The Quran is supposed to be the word
mm,
of God, according to the Muslims. You're supposed to read it and believe everything it says. And it's the same thing with scientific literature. They publish a study, meat causes heart disease. You're supposed to believe it. And now, of course, if you know how to read scientific literature, you can look, see their methodology, and see it's BS. If it's an association study,
mm,
like we
mm,
tracked 20 meat eaters over 50 million years, and they all had
mm.
heart disease. You can realize it's BS, but either way, I just don't buy into it, and I like looking at what works, which kind of brings me into something about honey I'd like to show you, but maybe we can talk about that later unless you're interested in what I have to say.
Let's get to honey when honey comes up because while we've been doing all this preamble and stuff, and I've been having some fun and games, I guess we should probably make some progress. So I'll let you make some progress. My invitation to you, Leo, is to give us an accurate, comprehensive description of the Randle cycle, the reason that you believe it evolved and exists, where it exists exactly, and what the mechanism of action of the thing is. How does it work?
Well, again, I'm not fully aware of the exact mechanisms of actions, all the enzymes that are responsible
Mm,
for the processes. I know that
mm.
chart you're always posting. Um, so
That
again,
chart's terrible, by the way. That's not my chart. That's a chart that was taken from a paper that was very poorly written on the subject. Just out of interest, so you know.
sure. But again,
Okay.
I mean, from your reasoning, why the Randle cycle is something that we should be concerned about. Again, when you're primarily oxidizing fats for energy and you consume any kind of dietary sugar, the body will not be able to properly utilize that glucose. So it'll stay in the bloodstream and that can cause diabetes and weight gain and whatnot. But, you know, when it comes, and listen, I'll say this, if you're eating garbage foods, the Randle cycle is something to be concerned about. If you're eating processed sugar, if you're eating vegetable oils, sure, you don't want to mix those fats and those carbohydrates together. But with raw foods, it's just not a concern because, for example, honey, truly unheated honey has an insulin like effect. And now this is a perfect time to show you. I have something to show you
So
right here.
basically, hang on, before we go on to talking about honey, which you said you want to talk about honey, and I said, no, let's talk about the Randle cycle.
Mhm.
What you've basically just given us is an admission that you have absolutely not the first clue what the Randle cycle even is.
What I said was correct, though. When you're primarily oxidizing fat, you consume dietary sugar. The body can't properly move it to the cells. The body struggles to move that glucose to the cell because of, the competition and whatnot.
The
Is
competition
that
and whatnot. Okay. All
the
right.
competition
Let's grant
between
you that.
fats
Let's
and
grant you that
sugar?
that's an adequately full description of the thing in terms of its mechanism of action. It's not, but let's say it is, just for fun. Okay. Then you said if you have a buildup of sugar in your bloodstream, that can cause diabetes and whatnot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm repeating what you say, and now, of course, diabetes is
Well,
too much sugar in
is
the
that
bloodstream.
correct? Is that
It
correct?
is.
What I say? Of course
It
it
is
is.
correct, but
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
differences to this because
So
if
when you
you're
made a
eating
video saying that you don't need to worry about the Randle cycle,
in the context of the primal diet, maybe I should have made that more clear. But my
you
diet,
probably should have, but actually no,
my
because the
whole
Randle
channel
cycle
is for
doesn't give a
primal diet.
rip roaring shit what your diet is. The Randle cycle is a
It
piece
def-
of, for want of a better term, physical machinery
if you're
that
consuming large
works.
amounts of sugar, yes, but listen, with the primal diet, it is essentially impossible to consume a large amount of sugar because, again, let me show you the honey thing. I want you to see this right
What do you
here.
think? What do you think honey's made out of, Leo? By the way,
I'll tell you right now. You see these two items I have here? Do you know what they are?
I can't possibly tell you what they are visually on a blurry screen.
It's blurry for you.
You tell me what they are.
This right here is honey.
Okay,
You see how it's liquid and viscous
I do see
or
that.
viscous?
Yes,
Let me show you this other jar.
it doesn't look particularly viscous. It looks quite liquid, by the way. But okay, whatever.
Oh, this is viscous. Mispronouncing it. But you see this right here?
Mm-hmm.
Clear difference, right?
Sure.
Do you
Is
know
there a
what the
point
difference?
coming anytime soon?
Yes. Do you know what the difference between these two honeys are?
Without looking at what they are, I would suggest that it's the difference between the fructose and glucose concentration in each of them that determines its state at room temperature most powerfully.
Somewhat correct, but as you can see, this is the honey that I had that was more liquidy. It says raw honey on the bottle. This one is what actual raw honey looks like. Do you know what the temperature difference in the straining between this honey, the one that's more solid, and the one that's more liquid is?
I don't. That said, I'm not involved in the manufacture of honey, so why would I know that? And secondly,
Well, it's because if you're
what
commenting on
effect
honey,
does that have? I'm not commenting on honey. You're the one that's banging on about honey.
I understand this, but in your videos, you obviously talk about honey not being good for humans and whatnot. And honey is really the only carbohydrate source. And I say carbohydrate in quotations because you'll see why. It's really the only honey source that humans in the
So
tropics have
fructose is
access
not a
to 24/7.
carbohydrate? Is
It
fructose a
certainly
carbohydrate, Leo? Right, it
it
is. Yes, absolutely.
it
Is
certainly
glucose a
is.
carbohydrate, Leo?
Of course.
Remember
But let
how I
me get
said
to
I
the
wasn't
point
going to
of this
get
honey.
terse with you until you start sounding as stupid as Richard Burgess? That time has
Let me get to
arrived.
my point. Listen, this honey right here is never heated above 93 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas this honey is heated up to 118 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can clearly see there's a difference in texture. And the reason why is because the unheated honey still has its enzymes intact. And these enzymes make it so the sugar does not affect you like normal sugar. A lot of the sugar.
What do you think happens to those enzymes the moment they hit the stomach acid, son?
They get utilized as enzymes for digestion, which is
absolute
primarily good
rubbish.
for protein.
Who told you that? Who told you that?
It's basic science. When you consume enzymes, they get utilized.
Oh, hang on a minute. Just hold the phone there, sunshine. Basic science, you say, 21 years of age without a single qualification whatsoever, talking to a professor with more than 20 years experience in basic fucking science. Is that what is that where we're going here?
Between these two honeys. I understand
I didn't say I didn't know there was a difference between these two honeys. You said that.
You didn't know about the 90.
They are both made from sugar. Honey is sugar. Sure, there are enzymes in it. What happens to those enzymes the moment they hit the stomach acid, sunshine?
They get utilized.
Rubbish. Try again. What happens to them?
They definitely get utilized. Some of them are destroyed.
In what way?
Who
told you that? Who told you that? Was it the actor, the dead actor Arjunis? Did he tell you that?
Arjunis? Who's that?
Oh my God.
What actor are you talking about?
The actor Arjunis von der Planets.
Oh, Arjunis. What kind of a name is Arjunis? Arjunis von der Planets. And
that's right. Did he tell you that?
Digestion is about 20% enzymes, 80% bacteria. In some
Whose enzymes? Whose enzymes, sunshine?
You have
the ones you make endogenously, not the ones you put into your stomach. Because what happens when you subject enzymes to the acidic environment of the stomach, son? Let's go back to that again. Have another go. What happens to them?
The enzymes are utilized for digestion.
In what fashion? By what mechanism are they used or utilized, as you say?
I don't
Please explain this.
Mechanisms. I do not care for the mechanisms.
Right, so this is a pointless waste of time, isn't it? Because you have absolutely not the first clue of what you are talking about.
Listen.
You are making shit up.
You did not know that there was a difference in the enzymatic content of 93 Fahrenheit or below honey and honey that's been heated
I did know
above.
that, and I have no interest in that because it makes no difference to the fact. It makes no difference, son, to the fact that they are both sugar, and sugar, exogenous sugar in the diet, over the individual threshold where it becomes toxic, is just that, toxic. It is contraindicated. There is no place in the human diet for carbohydrates. They are unnecessary. Not 1 single gram ever is required for health, longevity, or anything else.
There's a lot of things that are healthy that are not required. You don't necessarily need meat to be alive. Look at Richard Burgess. He's been alive 30-something years. And obviously... barely, but okay, fine. I'm sure he has some health problems, but he hasn't reported anything obvious. One thing that surprised me is he hasn't
he has. Many times, in fact. Are you not even paying attention to the boy?
What kind of health issues has he been facing?
Well, Richard Burgess has patent issues with being very susceptible to physical injury every time he tries to lift anything remotely heavy. That's obvious, for one. Number two, he has, in my opinion, this is an opinion, very serious mental health issues,
that is
ego
true.
Issues, problematic issues. They are very serious health issues. He has a problem with his body composition. He can't keep that under control. He has temper issues. He can't keep that under control. And when he does lose the plot, he can't then bring himself back onto the track again, because once he's lost it, he's lost it. And then he will sit there and repeat the same lie again and again and again when he is corrected on it. Does this sound familiar at all, Leo?
Not to me.
That's the problem. That's exactly my point here, isn't it?
You are just not being open-minded to the fact that I mentioned.
I'm just not being open-minded. Oh, okay. That's my problem, boys and girls. That I'm not open-minded.
What studies have you done on truly unheated honey? Because my point is, unheated honey does not act like a carbohydrate the same way that the honey you see Paul Saladino or Face IQ guzzling down. They act
whether honey is heated or unheated. Honey is a carbohydrate.
The
And
amount of
therefore it
carbohydrate you
does
derive
behave
from
like a
unheated honey is better.
carbohydrate, son.
It definitely does. It definitely does not. It behaves much more like an enzyme supplement than it does an actual carbohydrate source. And this is why I'm mentioning this, because the only other carbohydrate source other than milk in this diet is fruit. But fruit is something that you should consume in very small amounts, and you always consume it unripened before it ripens, because fruit before it unripens has a significantly lower sugar content. Because I'm in agreement that fructose is bad, especially in large amounts. However, there are benefits to these foods, and the best example is the enzymes. Let me tell you a story. When I first started this diet, this is obviously an extremely high fat diet. I was completely unable to digest fat. I would throw it up. The only way I could digest it was to eat a small amount of unripened pineapple, and I wouldn't throw it up. How do you explain that if the enzymes aren't utilized for digestion? How do you explain the fact that every time I ate butter without unripe pineapple, I would just throw it up?
Is that a question?
That is a question.
Because all I'm hearing is like, great story, but it needs much more emphasis on the dragons, probably a lot less incest, and probably not kill off all the best characters in the first season, son. It sounds like a vacuous, uninformed, ridiculous, childlike opinion.
Sure, that's how you want to take it.
That's what it is. A spade's a spade. That's how it is. I mean, you're sitting there, number one, professing to tell me what I do and do not already understand about all sorts of different foods. Then you're giving me absolute nonsense about enzymes based on clearly absolutely no understanding whatsoever of enzymes. You're telling me somehow that unheated honey is magic because some dead actor told you that.
It definitely is. And you can see this yourself. Like I mentioned, you cannot say these are the same foods. I mean, look at the difference in this. I know your stream's probably low quality, but you cannot say this is the same food at all. It's the same thing with raw milk and pasteurized milk. They're not the same food at all. They look completely different. They taste completely different. They behave completely differently in your body. And it's the same thing with honey. Because
does that mean one of them is indicated and one of them is not?
What do you mean by that?
If I grant you that those two honeys are not the same thing, which of course I have to because they're not the same thing, they're similar things, very similar things in fact, but not the same, so I'm required to grant you that they are not the same. Does that make one of them good for you and one of them not good for you?
Yes, absolutely.
No, it doesn't. Yes. No, it doesn't.
It definitely does.
Honey, no, it definitely does not. So this is what I'm talking about with the Richard Burgess thing. No, Richard, wrong again. Wrong. Just because things are different doesn't make one of them better or okay and one of them not, unless you've got a very good reason for that, and you don't, son. You have an opinion. An opinion based in ignorance, absolute ignorance of human metabolism, enzymes, the environment of the stomach, or anything else. And by the way, Clavicular absolutely does know who I am. You bet he does. And he does not have the testicular fortitude to front up to me for a debate. He is a coward and an imbecile.
Let me tell you something.
So anyone that thinks Clavicular doesn't know who I am is stoned. He does.
Bart, let me tell you something. I've seen you say this for Face IQ. You know, you're like, Face IQ's he's too weak. He's scared of debating me. Really, all it is business. Clavicular and Face IQ both have more clout, if you will, than you. And if they spoke to you, it would be giving you clout. And that's why they don't want to do it. It's not necessarily that they're scared or whatever, because even then,
yes, it is. Because they know how it goes. They know I will tear them 7 new assholes without breaking a sweat and make them look as stupid as they both are.
Well, it wouldn't change the mind of their
sound familiar,
audience.
son?
It would not change the mind of their audience because Clavicular...
Of course it wouldn't, because their audience is similarly fucking inane, similarly stupid.
Can definitely be the case, but I mean, listen,
it is the case. I've seen how they comment.
That's the case.
They are singularly lacking in intelligence. They are also silly little prepubescent boys who are impressed because of their presentation, shall we say. I'm not going to be as misogynistic as you are.
I wouldn't call myself a misogynist.
I know you wouldn't, but I am calling you one.
Really?
Based on your commentary, which was absolutely disgusting on your video.
All right. Sorry, that was really funny. But yeah, what else can we talk about?
Well, we could talk about some science. Well, we could if you knew anything about that at all.
Well, didn't you
Even the
just
first
say,
thing.
Didn't you say not too long ago that 100% of science is BS?
100% of the published literature that makes claims about cause and effect around human nutrition. Yeah.
You know, let me ask you about your scientific studies because I'm actually curious. Are you still doing them?
The last time I published a study, I believe, was 2018. I'm no longer working in the industry. I'm now very busy being a farmer, a social media influencer, an actor, if you will, a consultant and a marketer of nutraceutical products. I don't have time to be doing research in my own regard anymore. But yes, I've published a number of articles in my life. Some of them in my name that I'm using here on YouTube, and some of them perhaps not. Who knows? That's for another day.
Because if you're still interested in research, I would encourage you to test the things I am telling you about unheated honey, because I'm telling you unheated honey does not work in the same way that pasteurized and quote unquote raw honey works. But anyways, tell me about these studies. Were they collection? Were they association? What would you do? Was it laboratory research?
There were a lot of different sorts of studies that I was involved in over a 20-year career. If you have specific questions about specific topics that I've researched, I'm quite happy to discuss that, but I can hardly give you an adequate rundown of my publication record in a format like this.
Well, let's talk about your history. So I realized I did actually make one mistake in my video, and the mistake was
one.
The mistake.
I think you made many more than one, but okay.
The mistake I said was you have been keto for 25 years, which is correct. Am I right?
No, it isn't. No, that's not correct.
How long have you been keto? How long have you been keto?
Probably about 18 hours at this point.
Okay, I understand this. Listen, I've heard you. Listen, I know about this. When you eat lots of protein, you break ketosis. But I'm talking about a diet free of carbohydrates or very low in carbohydrates. About 25 years.
How long have I been on a diet that's very low in carbohydrates?
Yes.
About 12 hours at this point.
I'm talking about dietary. Listen, don't play this game with me. I'm talking about.
It's not a game, sunshine. I'm answering your question.
Listen, I understand this, but I'm asking about dietary, okay? You know
saying you understand something, Leo, doesn't actually make it true. It seems quite clear that you don't understand very much about anything. You ask me a specific question, I will give you the answer to that question. I'm quite happy to.
How long have you been eating a diet in which you avoid dietary carbohydrates?
About 12 hours at this point.
Oh my God.
There has been a recent period of time where I have not been avoiding carbohydrates.
This happens a lot. I've heard that you struggle to follow your diet unless you're incorporating milk and you think milk is a good thing. Tell me about that.
I am consuming an amount of raw dairy which is produced here on this farm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But why would you do that if you think carbohydrates aren't optimal? Because you are right now activating the Randle cycle, correct?
At this very second in time, probably not. Because you see, here's the thing, nuance, sunshine. It's the dose that makes the poison. Now, what you're arguing, it seems to me, is that you believe your dietary pattern to be particularly low in carbohydrates, which it may or may not be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's absolutely fine, because it is, like everything, a dose that makes the poison situation with carbohydrates. And I've never said otherwise at any stage. To suggest I have as a straw man, it's a fallacy, and it's taking a vacuous air swing.
Then we completely agree, because it's obviously the dose that makes the poison, because these carbohydrates in small amounts from truly unheated honey, raw milk, and a tiny amount of unripened fruit are not problematic.
Okay, well you should not eat unripened fruit. We're not going to agree on that. That's not a good idea. Well, there are a number of reasons you shouldn't eat unripened fruit. Number one, it's apt to disturb the average person's digestive system. It's much higher again in fiber, which is contraindicated in the human diet, it seems, if anything.
Depends on the fruit. It will be
It
higher
does, absolutely.
in resistant
Everything depends
starches.
on something, Sunshine.
It will be higher in
Everything is
resistant
conditionally
starches.
correct or incorrect.
But these resistant starches in the unripened fruit are a beneficial thing. Let me give you a good example. Let's think about the nature perspective. Humans in nature almost never got their hands on fruit, correct?
I believe that to be correct, pretty much, yeah.
If humans ever had a chance to get their hands on fruit, it would have been before it ripens. And the reason why is because when food is ripened, every living creature and their mama wants to eat it because the sugar obviously attracts other creatures. The sugar will attract insects. If you live in Southeast Asia, it'll attract a monkey or something like that. So really the only time humans would find fruit is before it unripens. Now, of course, they can sit there and guard it and wait for it to ripen. But that's impractical because fruit really holds no nutritional value. So it's not something they're going to care for. Why would you hold on to a few
what you're
berries
giving
just for them to
us,
be
what
sweet?
you're giving us is a speculation about how animals behave.
Well, I mean, it's common sense. When
Okay, well, the thing about common sense is that often it's wrong. Just because more than one person holds a common set of beliefs about something doesn't make that correct, does it? Have you sat there and watched animals yourself? Have you studied animals and do you know how animals behave? And if you have done, which you haven't because you've agreed that you don't have any background in study at all, how does that relate to how human beings ought to do anything?
Well, again, this is an appeal to authority because while I haven't done these studies that have been published with my own eyeballs, I live in Florida. With my own eyeballs, I go outside and I can see unripened fruits growing. And when they ripen, the insects, the birds, they'll all start eating it. Before it ripens, you can still see it. Right now, as I speak, I can go walk outside, cross down the street, and there's these little fruits. I forgot what they're called, but they taste like mangoes, and they have a massive seed in the middle, and they have a green peel. And when they start ripening, they start turning yellowish or orange. I can see those right now before they ripen. Nobody's eating them. I can go eat them right now. I've eaten those in an unripened state. It tastes like you're eating nothing, but it's perfectly fine. The amount of carbohydrates in one of those little fruits is probably less than 2 grams. It's a tiny amount.
Sure, if you eat one of them.
Right.
But why would
I mean,
you?
for each one. Why would I? Because of the
interesting.
enzymatic content. The enzymatic content, also the resistant starches. Starches are beneficial to a certain degree. Starches have been in the human diet since we've pretty much ever known that humans have existed. And I'm not necessarily
that
saying
is also false. Leo, that is absolutely false. That is not
it's
correct.
definitely true.
No,
Humans
it
used to eat them
definitely
for
is not.
survival.
No, it definitely is not true. No, it isn't. That's false.
Definitely
Where
is.
did you get that from? Who told you that?
It's just common sense. What else would humans eat?
No, Sunshine. Who you're giving me a fact. You're saying this is a fact, and I'm telling you absolutely unequivocally, and I can back it with actual science that actually is good science, that what you've just said is not correct. It's false.
You can look this up yourself. Humans
I have done, son, over more than 20 years, for goodness sake. Starch was not a significant part of the human diet throughout our history. False.
Not significant, but it was part of the human diet in a small amount. And
how much, Sunshine? How much?
Probably less than 5% of the yearly caloric intake. And this is more so...
Oh, caloric intake. Caloric intake, you say. Shall we go there? You cannot consume calories. That's basic physics, Sunshine.
I'm not talking about that, but I use caloric energy as a very basic metric to measure fat and carbohydrate intake and protein.
Well, why don't you use grams? Grams of, because that's what it is. It's mass. It has a weight. Why would you use a completely inappropriate metric based on nothing more than a construct which is demonstrably false and anti-scientific to its core? Well, showing that you have absolutely no grasp whatsoever of first principles. Why would you do that?
If that'll make you happy, less than 5% of the gram intake.
I'm already pretty happy, Sunshine. I'm a happy bloke.
I don't know about that. I'm sure you're playing a character to a certain degree now. But
of course it's clickbait. I don't know, of course it is.
Cortisol's a little spike.
No, it isn't. Right. I'm as relaxed as a cowboy can be.
I don't think cowboys were very relaxed. Those people went through a lot. Is it speculation for me to say that cowboys?
Oh my God! Is that the best you can do? Is that the best you can do? Let's deal with this one here. You are right, whoever you is, that
the
that
donation.
the who the hell is? Like, geez, why don't we make our YouTube readable and short? I don't know, whatever. You are right, whoever you is. There are different leagues, I presume we mean in terms of in the field of online influencers, etc. Berry, Chafee, Mason, Baker, and Bickman belong to one league. I guess that means K. I guess that means me. Attempts to join that group. In what respect, I wonder, that you would say that? Because, well, a number of the individuals that are listed in their league, which I guess you're implying is above my league, a number of those individuals come to me for advice on science and correctness. Whoopsie. If you mean those people have larger channels than I do, yes, they do. So what? Does that change anything about the correctness and veracity of anything that those people have to say? No, it doesn't. The thing that makes a person's message correct and full of veracity or otherwise is the thing that Leo's been referring to despite not having any of it. Common sense.
Okay, but now you're flip-flopping. You say I don't have common sense, but you're also saying that you shouldn't rely on common sense. I mean, listen, the starch thing, it's basic. You can see this. Humans have had starch since they started writing anything. And let me tell you, now's a good time.
The understanding that you're missing. Hang on. I'll let you have your say in a minute. The understanding that you're missing there with common sense is this. Just because you call something common sense doesn't mean it is common sense.
Uh-huh.
Some of the things that you are calling common sense are anything but sense. They are nonsense. They are factually, demonstrably, absolutely establishable as fallacies.
Let me ask you, I got some questions because I think you'll know a little bit more about this. So
I know a lot more, obviously.
Humans have been around for allegedly 300 to 350,000 or more years, correct?
That's the thinking. It's around about 350 in our current form, yeah.
Humans started making their presence known. Humans, when they actually started writing anything, when they actually started building civilizations, was right around 8 to 10,000 years or so, give or take, correct?
That's debatable.
Debatable,
there are different schools of, yes.
But I'm in the ballpark, correct?
You're in the ballpark of what some people believe.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that have made that assertion. Whether that assertion is factually correct or not is up for debate. There have been others that have uncovered evidence that society and, ancient megastructures and things that are well beyond the technology of what humans should have been capable of much earlier than. So what I'm saying is that's debatable. What's the point you're trying to get to?
Why, for 300,000 plus years, did humans do nothing but just hunt, hunter-gatherer, whatever they were doing, and then all of a sudden, give or take 8, 10,000, maybe 12,000 years ago, they actually started doing things. They actually started writing. They started making cave paintings. They started making societies. Why did we do nothing for so long? And then 10,000 years ago, we started to actually do things. What's the reason?
Well, number one, it's debatable what you're saying as to when things started to happen and what things are things. And is hunter-gathering, living, building societies in small groups, living in caves or whatever, is that doing something or is that doing nothing? So there's that distinction to try and tease out. And thirdly, things happen suddenly because the environment changes suddenly. Is the most likely explanation.
Sure, but people still live in very harsh environments. Think of the Inuit. I mean, the Inuit have their own religion. They have their own, the igloos they make. They essentially have their own little civilization. And they live in one of the most unfriendly environments on Earth. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I don't really buy into this idea that humans have been around for 300,000 years and then we did nothing up until 12,000 years ago, because there's two factors to this. If this is true, then what evolutionized or what evolved humans was us consuming milk and grains, because that's what we started doing about 10,000 years ago.
So that's your opinion. So that's your opinion. That's your speculation.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I think
I'm
it's
not saying
nonsense.
that's the case. I'm not saying that's the case. My point
Right.
is that humans, since the dawn of time, since we've actually been on this planet, we've been consuming dairy. We've been consuming unheated honey when it's available. We've been consuming unripened fruit when it's available, especially milk.
The dawn
Milk
of
is the big
time,
one.
humans haven't
Yeah,
been around since the dawn of time.
I'm well aware of that. Well, allegedly.
Well, you just said humans have, since the dawn of time, been doing something that clearly they couldn't possibly have been doing since the dawn of time, because humans were not here at the dawn of time.
Well, then,
Neither was this planet, son.
Since the dawn of humans, then.
Okay, so about 350,000 years. Why not say that?
Well, I don't buy into that. I really don't buy into that. I don't buy into the fact that
You don't buy into what?
That we've been around
You
for
don't.
300,000 years. It just doesn't make sense
Why
that
not?
we would have done nothing for 300,000 years.
Well,
Because
again, we didn't
the
do
humans
nothing.
back
We did all
then-
sorts of things.
We definitely didn't do anything because there's no evidence of anything from that long ago. There's no evidence that we built a civilization. Why wouldn't have we built a civilization in 300,000 years? You realize
But hang on,
how
just a few
long
minutes
that is?
ago, you granted me that you did know what I was talking about when I said there is evidence of that, in fact,
Evidence of what?
of ancient megastructures and things that were well beyond the technology of where man should have been at that time to create those things in the
Well, those are-
jungles out there.
Well, those are what you
Explain
consider
those.
conspiracy theories.
I don't consider them conspiracy theories. I consider them to be megastructures, because that's what they are, that are ancient, demonstrably, and that would have required technology that humans should not have had, according to the history that we're being told, that humans did nothing except live in caves and run around hunting and gathering.
But that's not backed scientifically. What you're saying is not backed scientifically because the scientific literature
So
says
hang on, once
the
again,
agricultural revolution was about 10,000 years ago.
sunshine. One of us is an expert in science. One of us has spent several decades in science. One of us has published a large number of articles in the scientific literature. One of us understands what scientific literature is and what it says, and the other one is you.
Mm-hmm.
I have been working in the scientific field longer than you have been alive on this planet, son.
Thank you, Q. I was talking to somebody in chat.
Try again. Have another crack.
Another crack at what?
At trying to make any kind of sense whatsoever.
Sense. I'm making sense.
No, you're not.
Whenever you say the word sense, you're making it. So I'm making sense.
Oh my God. Right, let's answer this question here, because this is probably somebody more sensible to talk to, really. Am I strictly against carbs or what? Against is, it's got, I mean, that would suggest that it's like that I have a political leaning. Am I against communism? Yes. Am I against taxation? Yes. Am I against carbs? No, I don't give two shits. You eat as many carbs as you want to. Should you do that, there's a limit to the amount of carbs that a human being, any given human being, can take in before they become toxic. Like anything, too much oxygen is toxic, so is too much water.
Okay,
The exact requirement for
that's
carbohydrates
completely
in the human diet is not 1 single gram ever. Suggesting that eating carbohydrates is optimal in some way is a fallacy, because that's not supportable with any kind of evidence. That's a positive claim that can't be supported. But absolutely, Sunshine, that's been alive for a period of time less than I've been working in science. Why don't you tell us all about science?
You know, what you said earlier is
The
rather
arrogance
annoying.
of you, son. The arrogance of you is what's annoying.
I don't think I'm arrogant. I'm over here chilling. I'm having fun. You're the only one who seems angry and arrogant. But let me tell you something. Saying that water...
Arrogant, no, okay, define arrogance. Boy, define arrogance.
I mean, you're looking at it. Well, you're not looking at it. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right now.
Define it. What is the definition of arrogance?
You're not willing to have an open-minded discussion because you get
No, that's not the
offended at
definition of
anything I
arrogance.
say.
Now you're using words you don't even understand. Give us the definition of arrogance, Sunshine.
It's
Let's
an
have it.
It's an individual like you. It's an individual
No,
like
that's
you.
not a definition. No, give us the definition, the accepted definition in the English language of arrogance. Let's hear it.
An individual who thinks he's better than others, an individual who has
No,
no chill.
wrong. No,
That's definitely
wrong.
the case.
No, that is not the definition of arrogance.
Arrogance is like the smug emoji. You put the smug emoji.
No, it
into a
isn't.
person.
No, that's wrong as well. No, that's false. That is still not the definition of arrogance.
I don't know.
Try again.
You could use a beer, man.
I've got some beer in the house.
What
Beer is
brand?
one of those things that there's no real place for in the diet. You shouldn't really have much beer. It's
agree.
not good for your health.
I agree.
What I could
What,
use, I'll tell
what
you what I
brand do you
could
like?
really use. I drink a 0 or very low alcohol beer from a local brewing company here in the country in which I live.
So, I mean, why do you
It's,
drink it? Do you like it?
I do. I enjoy the flavor of beer occasionally. So I have it's basically flavored water because there's very little carbohydrate and almost no alcohol in it. It's the taste of the beer. It's the whole refreshing thing. I occasionally will buy a case of that and drink that over a few days and then come back to it a few months. But that's completely beside the point. You were saying I could use a beer. I'll tell you what I could really use.
See you, Q.
What I could really use is for young people of your age, developmental status, education, read lack thereof, training, read lack thereof, to comprehend that you have absolutely no business whatsoever coming online and talking to people about what's good for them in terms of health science, nutrition, or any of those related fields. It's akin to me coming online and saying, look, I'm a gynecologist, no experience, but I'll take a look at it for you.
That's
It's
pretty funny.
absolutely, fundamentally fucking ridiculous, son.
Well, listen,
Utterly
everything I say about
ridiculous.
nutrition can be backed up, and so many people heal on this diet.
But
There's
it's
so many
not,
people that quit
though, son.
carnivore.
It isn't.
How many people have you heard have quit the primal diet? None of them do. Everyone stays with the primal diet because it's actually sustainable. And even
So?
you are completely unable to follow your own diet. You know, you drink alcohol.
No,
and
that's not true.
I'm sure you
That's
cheat.
not true at all. That's
But you
not
just
true at all.
admitted that you drink beer.
That doesn't mean I'm unable to not drink beer. It's a choice. Choice is
Well,
very different from ability.
I can do the same thing. I can choose to quit this diet. I can choose to go do a bunch of drugs, but I don't because this diet is sustainable and this diet brings me everything I need. And I understand the benefits of this diet.
You believe it does, and you believe that it brings you everything you need. Okay. Well, in time, we'll find out whether that's correct or not in your case.
Of course. I'm happy to see
all the
myself
things that
grow over
all the
next years
things
on
that you've
YouTube.
just said about your diet, all your belief structures about your diet, are all things that I believe to be true about a 100% carnivore diet. They are all things that there are demonstrable examples of people who are doing that and who are choosing that lifestyle without any deviation. I'm not one of those people personally. That doesn't mean that that diet isn't demonstrably better than a bunch of other diets for a number of reasons.
Sure.
But the real point of this discussion is for me to invite you to come on my channel, which you've done, and you're live streaming on your own channel as well. Hello, Leo's audience. Thanks for being here. And justify your ridiculous commentary on your channel of not that long ago, where you said several things like, number one, I look rough for a 50-year-old, which I don't agree with, but you're entitled to your opinion.
Well, I will say for the average American 50-year-old, you're not looking too bad. But if you compare yourself to what Augenus Vonderplanitz, Augenus, the dead actor, like you said, he looked much
which is what
better
he
at
is.
your age. And Augenus went through a lot.
According to
more
whom, on the
than you
basis
did.
of what, son?
Augenus went through a lot more than you. Did you have diabetes? Did you have
How do you
juvenile
know,
diabetes?
Sunshine? Do you have
Did you
any
have
concept
cancer?
at all of my life? No, you don't. Stop being so utterly bloody ridiculous, son.
Answer the question then. Did you have juvenile diabetes?
No,
Did you have cancer?
I'm not going to discuss my medical history with you, son.
Well,
Why would I do
wouldn't
that?
you? Because I'm making
Why would I?
I'm making a clear point here that Augenus went through a lot more than you did, and he still looked better at you at the same age.
That's
you are
your
at now.
opinion still. That's your opinion still. And it may be an opinion that others share, and it may be an opinion that others don't share. One of us is dead, one of us isn't. How's that?
Well, he died because of a freak accident, and he's older than you. At his time of death, he's still older than you, because what if you die of a freak accident tomorrow? You know that's not good for
What
your
age
soul
did he
to
die
sit
at? Not that that's really relevant to the price of fish in China in 1965 or anything else, but how old was this
He
dead
was
actor
66
when he
years
died?
old. He was
Okay.
66 years old. He fell
You
off a
said
balcony.
that just now. I heard you the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he fall off a balcony, do you think?
Could have been a freak accident. Maybe he got pushed.
Could have been.
Who knows?
What else could it have been?
I wasn't there.
That's right, you weren't. So should we talk about something that's actually you have some knowledge of? I'm aware that will limit the discussion very seriously, but nonetheless,
we can prove that he had cancer because he has a paper when he canceled his chemotherapy. He has a letter from the doctor telling him, "Oh, we've canceled your chemotherapy." We know this because I assume what you're getting at is that Augenis was a liar.
did I say that?
That's what it
or
sounds
anything
like
remotely
to me.
similar to that? Did
That's
I
what it
say
sounds
that
like
or
to me.
anything remotely similar to that?
That's what it sounds like to me.
No, answer the question. Did I say that or anything remotely similar to that? Still.
Well, to me, it sounds like you're implying it.
No, that's not the answer to my question.
Sounds like you're implying it.
No, that's still not the answer to my question.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why
Definitely
Richard
sounds like you're
Burgess
implying
mopped up the floor with you. Because you're actually stupider than Richard Burgess is. It's quite clear.
Sure. I'm stupider than the guy who feeds his cat a vegan diet and the guy who's
That's right. You clearly are, because you clearly cannot see that your behavior right now is exactly akin to what he did.
It's absolutely not. Your behavior is
It
like
absolutely
his,
is still.
You're the one that's getting. You're the one.
Okay,
that's
let's
getting
answer the
aggressive
question
just
then,
like him.
Sunshine. All right. If you're going to behave like someone who's not like Richard Burgess, you'll answer the question. Here's the question. Did I say what you're claiming it sounds to you like I said, or anything similar?
Say that again.
How many times do you need to hear the question? It's the same question every single fucking time, without any variation.
Say that one more
Did
time.
I say what you're claiming it sounds to you like I said, or anything remotely similar to it? Still.
Definitely sounds like you are implying that Augenis is a
So
liar.
you're going to answer the question the same way again, which is not answering the question. The answer to the question, Sunshine, is no, I did not say anything remotely similar to that. Nothing even close. I did not suggest that the dead actor is a liar. I suggested that he's both dead and was an actor, both of which are true.
And what's
That's
wrong
all.
with that? We all die, and some people are actors, make their living.
Did I say there was anything wrong with that?
Well, that's why you're mentioning it. You're using it in a demeaning way. Don't play stupid. You know that you're using
That's
this in a
your
demeaning way.
interpretation. That's your interpretation. I'm not responsible for your interpretation. I just give the facts. The facts are Arjunas Vonderplanets, which wasn't even his name, that was his stage name.
That wasn't his stage name. He was a deeply spiritual man, and that's the name he chose. He never hid the fact that his real name was John Richard Swigert.
That's a stage name. Okay, now you're going to split hairs, and it's not going to make any difference. It's not going to make any difference to the facts, son. The facts are he was using a nom de plume, and he was an actor, and he is dead. They are all facts.
Sure. What's wrong with that?
None of them are disparaging. It is no insult to call a dead man dead. I know, that's a quote from the movie Troy. I get that. What is your point? Other than you have absolutely no point whatsoever. You are grasping at straws. You have been shown up as completely incompetent in the field of human nutrition, human science, science in general, common sense, and basic behavioral standards. What else can we get? What else can we cover off today?
My point is that at your age, when Augenis was 54 years old, he looked healthier than you, despite
you said that, and I've already disclaimed that and said, okay, that's your opinion and you're entitled to it. Others might share your opinion, and others, again, will not.
Augenis had cancer. He had juvenile diabetes. He had fibromyalgia.
Is there a point coming anytime soon?
My point is that your appearance is indicative that your diet is not optimal.
No, it isn't.
That's the point.
That's your opinion.
Because
we've covered opinions.
You've been on what's supposed to be the perfect diet for 9 years now. Is that correct? 9
No,
years
I haven't. No, I haven't, Sunshine.
And how long have you been doing it?
Again, the last time I ate a perfect meal was 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to get as close to perfect in terms of what is demonstrably the ideal diet for a human being, more in a more stable way, more ongoingly, to deal with my own flaws, foibles, weaknesses as a human being, and keep those things under discipline and control better than I have done, at least recently, which has been pretty poor for a number of reasons.
You always say this.
You
though,
are
because
making
I've seen videos of
assumptions.
you and you're always
Excuse
saying
me,
you don't follow
Sunshine.
your own
I'm
diet.
talking. That means you're not.
You weren't talking there. You're just getting
I am
angry for
talking.
no
I am
reason.
talking. I am in the middle of a sentence, and I will finish my point. Are we
You're
clear?
getting angry for no reason. Can you just calm
No,
down?
I'm asserting my right to finish the sentence I began without you talking over the top of me.
I let you talk. Right now you were talking. Instead of whining, just say what you were going to say.
Here it is. You are making assumptions about how I eat based on absolutely no ability whatsoever to know anything about how I eat, my life, or anything else.
You claim
You
to
are
be
casting
carnivore
it.
for 9
Excuse
years.
me, I am
You're
not finished.
You
I will
always
tell you
claim
when
that.
I'm finished. Do you want to get your ass kicked out of here? Because I'm quite happy to do that too. I will not put up with insolence from little boys. Are we clear?
If that's what you want to do, but listen, I'm a
Are we
reasonable
clear,
guy. I'm here to
Sunshine?
listen to
I
you.
will not put up with insolence from children.
Sure. We're clear.
Right.
We're clear.
Good. All right. Now I will finish what I'm going to say, and then you will be invited to say whatever you want to say after that, and we'll deal with that. Very simple. You are making assumptions, false ones, about my life, my diet, based on absolutely no ability to make any such assertions whatsoever. You are casting aspersions about my appearance, which I think is pretty funny coming from you, frankly.
From me,
but that's
I'm
for another day.
beautiful. Look at me.
Excuse me. We've covered
I'm
this.
beautiful. I'm a
We have
pretty boy.
covered this. You speak when I'm done.
Sure.
All right?
Anything to
And
make you happy.
you are behaving in a fashion as to paint yourself out to have some kind of knowledge, which you do not have, some kind of understanding, theoretically, of a area which you do not have any training, experience, or understanding of. You've made a bunch of ridiculous, fallacious, demonstrably incorrect statements, in fact. You've made a fool of yourself, and you've been exceptionally rude and disrespectful to someone who is your elder and vastly better in terms of the subject material that we're talking about. You have not covered yourself in glory. I've played the part. I've played the act of the grumpy professor. I've sworn at you. I've yelled at you like I said I would if you behave as stupidly as Richard Burgess did. I did warn you. And your behaviour has been worse than Richard Burgess, in fact.
Really?
Yes, really.
It's pretty crazy.
Because at the end of the day, if you understand how poor Richard Burgess's behaviour is, and then you behave in exactly the same fashion, what does that make you? Now you may speak.
I do not behave anything like Richard Burgess at all.
There it
And
is
let me
right
ask
there.
you
There it
one
is
more
right there.
time. Why do you say you're carnivore for 9 years if you say you're not? You say this on your YouTube channel. This is how I know you've been 9 years carnivore, because in your Paul
Define
Saad video,
carnivore.
one of your videos. It's
You
what
don't
you
know
say.
dick
You're
about
the one that
fuck.
says
You
you're
don't know
carnivore.
dick about fuck, Sunshine. Define
I don't know
carnivore.
dick about fuck. I don't. That's crazy,
right.
dude. That's crazy.
That is not crazy. Define. I mean, you can't even define the word arrogant.
Arrogant is you. If you
No, it
analyze your
isn't.
behavior,
No, it isn't.
that's
No,
you.
by definition, arrogant is not me. By absolute demonstrable definition, I am not arrogant.
It definitely
The
is.
problem
Listen,
here is
I'm
you do
still
not even know what the definition of arrogance is. Now let's get to the definition of carnivore, because that's one you'll probably get wrong too.
Mm-hmm. You know, people have different meanings for carnivore, but generally carnivore, hypercarnivore, is an animal that consumes, I forget what the number is, but I believe it's 80% or more of their nutrition from meat. Correct,
All
no?
right. You said that's one definition that's used, and you're correct. That is one definition that's used. By that definition, I am a carnivore and have been for a number of years.
However, that is not the definition I use, because when I think of a carnivore
I
diet,
don't give two fucks what your definition is.
I think it's
at all.
100% meat, because you see
I don't
people
give
say,
two fucks
I'm on the
what you
carnivore
think.
diet and they eat cheese and they drink milk. They're not carnivore.
I don't care what you think. Your opinion is uninformed, completely untrained, ignorant,
it's definitely
and
informed.
it's actually you, Sunshine, that's exhibiting incredible arrogance by the correct definition of the word arrogant.
Absolutely
Your
not.
arrogance is unbelievable.
Time.
Screaming has nothing to do with arrogance. You will not find the word screaming in the definition of arrogance, and I do not scream, Sunshine.
You've been screaming for a very long time.
No, I have not. False.
You definitely have.
Absolute garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. No, I haven't.
Let's just go back to this. Why are you unable to follow the perfect diet? The best diet?
Again, I am able to if I choose to. I don't.
Why don't you choose to?
Because I'm a hedonist and a flawed human being.
We all are, and I don't cheat on my diet.
So what?
Why would you preach something you don't practice? You realize that's malpractice. That's dangerous. It's dangerous.
No, that's absolute nonsense.
You don't do.
What I do in my own life has nothing. Excuse me, Sunshine. What I do in my own. Excuse me. What I do in my own. Right, you're out of here. Fuck off. What I do in my own time has nothing whatsoever to do with what is ideal for any given living human being, does it? Not a damn thing. It's quite clear that this boy is yet another arrogant tool without the first clue of what he's talking about. To summarize the discussion that we had, I invited him to explain himself with regard to describing myself as someone who speaks like a woman going through menopause. He was unable to, of course. It does say a lot about him straight away that he said that. The fact that he has opinions, strong opinions, about a number of topics, none of which he has the slightest clue about in terms of the reality of the situation, any underpinning epistemology of the area that he's talking about. He's a boy in short pants, only just poking his nose into adulthood, with a severe ego problem, a severe arrogance problem, and an insolence problem that frankly probably comes from, I believe, a change in the way children are brought up in his generation. If I spoke to someone my age the way he's spoken to me today, or previously on the video that he made about me that started all of this, he'd have been punched in the face. I'm not suggesting that violence is the answer to anything. I'm just saying it's a different time. And I think that being punched in the face, as I have been a couple of times in my life, here and there, when I deserved it, is quite a good learning tool for a person to understand that respect is something that's earned, and so is rebuke when that's earned. And this boy has earned the full rebuke that he's been given from me this morning, my time. I know that you all tuned in for a dumpster fire, and it's my role to give it to you. That's why I play that part and do that getting terse, shouting and swearing and carrying on thing. It's all part of the hook, line and sinker act that I play. For those of you that don't get that. What's great about it for me is that people will then turn around and use that behavior pattern as a means to deride the veracity of what it is I've actually had to say, which is actually a complete, well, it's an unconditional surrender, because what it says is that they cannot assail the argument. I mean, I then invited Leo to tell us why it is that the Randle Cycle is not something we need to worry about and we can ignore it. And I asked him to justify that by starting with an explanation of what the Randle Cycle even is, how it works, why it works, where it works, and what the mechanism of that evil machination is. He was unable. He then went on and gave us a slew of excremental, unsupported, vacuous, nonsensical opinions about things that he couldn't possibly have any knowledge of, in an attempt to get me to shout at him instead of keeping the razor focus on the fact that his arguments were so poor, so vacuous, and that he's actually dumber than Richard Burgess, which is saying something, because that's hard. That's really hard to be stupider than Richard Burgess, isn't it? Anyways, yes, that tool did get absolutely mopped up. Yes, well, you've seen it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was fun for you, as fun as it was for me. There comes a point in any discussion where the discussion itself becomes pointless, because at the end of the day, my position is unassailable. Why? Because I've spent longer than that boy's been alive making my argument unassailable, because people much more credible than that boy have had a crack at me over the years. And when we get to a point where I'm accused of being arrogant, and then when the boy is asked to define the word arrogance, the word that he's describing me as, he can't do it. What else is there to say? It's projection. The arrogance sits squarely with that ridiculous child, clearly. Right. The opaque-looking honey gets sold around here. Yep. They say, let honey crystallize, then pulverize the crystals. Yeah. Not sure that's a great idea, because honey is almost entirely consisting of sugar, exogenous sugar being contraindicated to the most part in the human diet. Everybody does have an individual tolerance level, sure, like anything. It's the dose that makes the poison, as I said. Yeah, I just wouldn't be doing that. Yeah. Why is he mad? Who mad? Me mad? I think I've just explained that. It's part of my act that I play online for clicks, because my audience like it. Apparently, because when I don't do that, they don't like it. They go, what are you doing? Shout at that boy. Okay, whatever. Nobody wants to talk with Professor K because he's an insufferable ass. No, quite a few people do want to talk to me, in fact. Basically, I think you've got your nose out of joint because I proved you to be an arrogant, ignorant asswipe earlier, when you suggested that several people are at a level higher than I am, when those people seek advice from me. Basically, you're also invited, seems you don't like it here, you're invited to be somewhere else, dickwad. How's that? Bye-bye. There's the door. I don't really need to put up with insolence from anybody of any age, frankly. How's that? If you've got a decent point to make and you can back that up with some kind of material, I'm quite happy to hear that. But if you're just going to sit there and circularly repeat your mindless opinion, we don't really need to listen to that, frankly. Yes, we have a serious problem with young men acting like authorities on things. Yeah. Now, listen, when I was a young man, my ego was out of whack too. It's not something that I'm innocent of myself. I have had an ego problem during my life, earlier in life as well. That's something I had to get under control. And being punched in the face several times helped with that, by the way. That's all I was talking about earlier. Yeah. You feel bad for me? 20 years of dealing with imbeciles. Yeah, well, it was the life I chose. And now I choose to be a farmer because it'll be great, they said. I believed them. More fool me. I still get to do the online influencer thing, which is good fun. I have a ball with that. I'm working with a consultant at the moment on my main channel to try and get the visibility of that thing going and the subs of that thing going and get that ball rolling again. because it's suffered of late because of lack of attention from myself, because of the things in my life that drew me away from that. Like a close member of the family being very, very unwell, which has caused a number of issues around, well, dealing with that. Anyways, you can help if you're not already, by subbing to my main channel, and you'll see that I'm doing slightly different things over there these days. It's more the professional-ish, slick-ish, quick, short, 10 list of 10 things, exciting video, all that kind of stuff. And, topics and thumbnails and all of that. We're working on all of that stuff. So you maybe support that. That'd be awesome. Yeah, he doesn't get anything. He doesn't understand the most basic tenets of life, it seems. A ridiculous child. Yeah. So they're arguing whether honey is toxic or not. No, you missed the whole thing, it seems, if that's what you think is going on here or was going on here. No. It's kind of akin-ish to my point, with the additional bit of information that the enzymes don't survive the stomach. The enzymes in the honey, the acid destroys them. He didn't understand that. He said they're utilized, but couldn't tell me how, because he actually doesn't know anything about the mechanisms by which the human body actually works. And yet he wants to make himself out to be some kind of expert and cast aspersions at a senior academic with more than 20 years experience in that field. And I'm the arrogant one, apparently. There it is. Yeah. Jonathan, good to see you, mate. As if everything we eat needs to have enzymes, though, in order... Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, isn't it, Jonathan? Where does he get the audacity? Well, I blame the parents of the current generation who have brought their kids up to believe that their opinion is worth hearing too, irrespective of whether it is or not. A generation who have brought up failing to understand how to show respect to their elders, who have vastly more knowledge and experience in a number of fields than they do, demonstrably. Children who don't speak over the top when adults are talking, who wait their turn, for example. Yep, we've all seen those videos. Yep, that's one of the reasons that we quite rightly, in my opinion, refer to Richard Burgess as being mentally unwell. He clearly is, it seems to me. Just my opinion, doesn't have to be anybody else's. Yeah, there's quite a few kids like that, aren't there, that did it wrong and need steering back in the right direction. How much can you bench, son? Yeah, good. Yes. The argument could be made that most commercial butter is contaminated with other chemicals. Yes, that's right. All sorts of arguments could be made. Whether they're correct or not is another issue. Well, he doesn't know that because it's not correct. It's something that he's heard somewhere else and hasn't thought to even challenge or look into. Just as an opinion. And it's not even an original opinion. It's an opinion he heard from a dead actor who's still dead and was still an actor. The debate was supposed to be about the Randle Cycle, but we couldn't debate the Randle Cycle because the boy didn't know the first thing about it, despite having made a video suggesting I was wrong about it in some way, and that I look rough for a 50-year-old, which I don't think I do, and that I speak like a woman going through menopause, apparently. Oh, and that I'm bitter as well. I'm bitter. Very bitter, boys and girls. I'm going to have to back him up on that. Polly is very bitter. I know. I'm going to go back and do my thing. Bye. Thanks, Ted, for your support. You can't get the help, boys and girls. You really can't. Here we go again with the switch the topic to vegan games. That was kind of fun. It had a purpose. It was to make it clear that he was dumber than vegan games, which is really something, as I said. Why do you guys stress so much about carbs? We don't. I don't. Why would I stress about carbs? Would you not eat carbs to survive because it's... Or would you not eat carbs to survive because it's unhealthy? No. I never said that. People do all sorts of things to survive when it's necessary. This is the problem with people, is that they make these ridiculous strawman arguments suggesting that somebody has said something that they have not said. It's not good enough. If you want to ask me a question about my beliefs on this, that, or the other thing, or these scientific reasons why I might believe a certain thing about a certain thing, show me the respect of asking a question. Don't try and characterize what I said as something other than what I said. That's just insulting. That's unacceptable behavior. Okay. LDL causes heart disease. Oxygen causes fires. I'm not sure what your point is. One of those is completely untrue, and the other one is conditionally true. Be vegan for as long as him and try to be sane. That's, no, it's impossible. Open-minded. Yes, so anyone who's not open-minded is arrogant. No, that's not the definition of arrogance. See, the thing about English words is that they're defined in a thing called the dictionary. They have a meaning. And if you want to throw words around and describe somebody as a certain thing, perhaps you should understand what the definitions of those words are before you do it. Otherwise, you sound like a 12-year-old practicing vocabulary to see what kind of response they get. And frankly, that's about the level of that boy, about a 12-year-old, intellectually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. 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 Also, it was supposed to be amusing for you folks. Maybe it was painful for his supporters who thought he actually had some clue. And by the way, in his video, he was talking about his clients. Anyone stupid enough to pay that boy money to get his vacuous opinions on health science, well, that's Darwin in action for you right there. You deserve what you get, anyone that actually reaches into their pocket and pays that boy money. What's wrong with you? Goodness gracious. Yep, he doesn't know the mechanisms. He doesn't have any evidence. Yep. 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 The enlightened state, indeed. Enlightened they are. It's my mistake. Yeah, it's just because I'm such a menopausal woman who screams, apparently. Again, perhaps you should look up the definition of that one as well, while you're looking up the definitions of words, sunshine. You should also look up the definition of being fisted with no lube, because that's the analogy that I'm going to use for what's just happened to you. You've been absolutely shown up as the complete child you are, as the vacuous moron that you are. You got everything you deserved. And I thought it was dished out in a very measured way, actually. The whole shouting and swearing thing, as I say, I don't think personally has any impact on the facts that were laid out here. The clear demonstration that is an arrogant little boy who ought to close his shit down, frankly. He should, from this point forward, be too embarrassed to show his face on social media ever again. He's an embarrassment not only to himself, but to his family, his tribe, his country, and a large section of humanity, sadly. Yep. Yes, there is that. Yes. 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 Yep. Yep, very good, very good. You grew up on a farm, good. And my father kept bees for aiding pollination of apple trees. Okay. There's both difference in viscosity and color from honey produced in the summer and the autumn. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's enzymes. Enzymes that are utilized by some magic mechanism that Leo doesn't know what it is because it doesn't exist. He made it up. Well, actually, he didn't. Somebody else made it up. He heard that and he believed it because he wanted to. And then he came and presented it to a scientist who said, no, son, that's not correct. And he got all upset about it. All flustered. Yeah. 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 Yeah, same thing. Same nonsense, yes, absolutely. Yes, that too. Oxalates, yes. We will all throw up fat guys even after years on a high-fat carnivore. Sorry, what the hell are you talking about? What does that mean? I don't even know what you're saying there, sorry. Honey is essentially refined sugar, yes. Okay. So do you see study time 8001 how what you've posted there is a rancid, pustulous, excremental, unsupported opinion? And as such, its value, utility, or worthwhileness to the universe at large is about minus several million. It's also incorrect. I accept many things. Like the inability to change the minds of some people. I accept that because I can't change everybody's mind. Some people are just plain stupid. And I'm talking to one right now, study time 8001. Immensely stupid. Unbelievably stupid. I would suspect that you would struggle to make triple digits on an IQ test. Okay. Thanks for coming. Don't bother coming again. In fact, here's the door. All right, because once again, insolence. I don't have to put up with it. Bye. Right. I don't know the mechanisms. Yes. That's right, he doesn't. Indeed. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yep. Right. Here's another example of someone who does not know what they are talking about. I am neither anti-carb, neither am I a rampant drinker. Both those statements are fundamentally absolutely false. In fact, and you also are invited to pop yourself directly to fuck without passing go or collecting $200. Bye-bye. What a great day it is banning insolent turds from commenting on my channel. What fun. All right. Resident Raw says something, but he doesn't know the mechanisms. Yep. He has a strongly held opinion, a theologically held opinion, based on his chubby, for a dead actor, when challenged on the mechanisms supporting the theory that he's putting forward, absolutely vacuous, not a clue, as I knew he would be, insolent to boot, completely lacking in respect, which frankly I've earned, you know, stunning. That's the state of the world, really, and I accept that. But I will respond to it appropriately by saying to these clowns, to their faces, the things that I know a lot of you would desperately like to say to young people, but don't, because you're actually taking the moral high ground. I couldn't give a shit. I'm quite happy to just call a spade, I think. And that's the clickbait approach. It works well in some ways, and in other ways it's a bit of a handbrake, but whatever. We have a young man with Dunning-Kruger problem. Yep. Face IQ is another one of those. Face IQ is a boy, he also calls himself Frost, who his whole thing is about appearance, and frankly, the kind of appearance that he lauds is not necessarily the kind of appearance that actually is what a lot of people would find physically attractive. Anyway, he's got a good memory for repeating things he's heard, and he was for a long time repeating things that I was saying verbatim without understanding any of those things, and he got caught out on it. How did he get caught out on it? By changing his tune entirely, by listening to somebody else who also had strongly held opinions, but whose opinions were daft. Not really a Dr. Paul Sallad, I don't know is who I'm talking about there. And he listened to 5 minutes of what not really a Dr. Paul Sallad, I don't know, had to say about fruit and honey, and sucked it up because it was popular. It's what he wanted to hear. That'll do me. Paul said so, it must be good. And then he started doing that, which shows that he had absolutely no understanding of the repetition of my material that he was doing for months and months before that. Arrogant child. Clavicular, the guy you were talking about, by the way, some of you in the chat there, had a very public situation where he physically collapsed and was very, very unwell in the middle of a live stream recently. I don't know what his medical problem was. I could speculate, but that would be pointless. Just pointing that out if those of you that didn't know about it. Not a paragon of health, apparently. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, okay. How washed are you if you think cold honey is healthy and heated isn't? Exactly. Because he thinks the enzymes are magics. So he understands that heat destroys enzymes, but not that acid does too. Oh my word. Anyways, there it is. Yeah, this boy's not a vegan, by the way. He's a raw food, primal diet, Arjunus imbecile. They're not the same thing, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's also a very good point that Raw Oliver is making, that, the fact of the matter is I'm not a rampant drinker. That's a lie. And even if I was, would that affect the veracity or correctness or scientific acumen of anything I had to say? Directly. It might if I was drunk. I might say stupid shit. But no, what I say is correct, indicated, scientifically unassailable. And that's what actually irritates people more than anything. That's why they have to pick on aspects of my presentation style, the whole grumpy, shouty, swear thing, as reasons to discredit me, because they cannot get at my actual argument, because it's unassailable. And I know that. That's why I'm perfectly safe to behave in a way that most people wouldn't, purely for the entertainment value of it and the shock value of it. Rabbit in headlights, wasn't he? Hilarious. Yes, indeed. That. Yeah. But hey, don't listen to me. I'm just a woman going through menopause. Don't you deny my identity. If I identify as a woman going through menopause, that's what I am, according to some. Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yes. I did not know that about you, Jonathan. You used to manage a vegan health food store. Jesus. How was that? Yeah. All right. Yep. So no one can stick to carnivore. Well, they can. I know a lot of people that do. I'm not one of them myself, 100%. I never said I was. At any stage, I have never claimed to be a 100% carnivore. I have repeatedly claimed that it seems to me, based on all the evidence such that it is that's available from the actual sciences, that the ideal diet is 100% carnivore. And that's what a person should aspire to and get as close to as they possibly can. that's suitable to them in their lives. Can't see how that's difficult to understand. Mouth noises, yeah, that's really annoying. Really annoying. Well, I think I was quite clear in my description of exactly what he knows. Let me repeat it for you. He knows dick about fuck. Imbecile. Vacuous turd. Insolent child. Silly little boy. We knew he would be. He gave himself away as soon as he made a video about me, describing me as a woman going through menopause, or someone who speaks like that, and bitter, because what that says is that actually he has no way to assail what I've actually said about the Randle Cycle, which he didn't even understand in the first place. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Yes, there is that. Credit for that, for actually showing up, for the spanking that everyone that shows up that behaves as stupidly as that boy did deserves. I said to him beforehand, listen, as long as what you say is rational, considered, and based in objective reality, you will not get the treatment that Richard Burgess got. I told him that up front. It wasn't very long before it was very, very clear that, in fact, not only was he not going to be better than Richard Burgess, he was worse in many respects. Stunning. Okay. I don't know what he was trying to get at with that. But I mean, here's the thing. Just for fun, let's imagine that I have one peer-reviewed publication in my life as first author, or any author, actually. I have vastly more than that, but let's just say I had one, and only one. And it was 20 years ago. How many does he have? None at all. As a percentage, how much better does that make my publication record than his? So why was he even going there? What leverage did he possibly think he was going to get hold of there? I wonder. And then he said, like, can I ask you about your qualifications? Absolutely. Can I ask you about yours? I said, well, I don't have any, he said. All right, are we done with that now then? Hilarious. I did. Yeah. Yes. Of course. Trust me, bro. Magic enzymes and stuff. Good. Yep. There's an example of a peer-reviewed publication, which was written by the first author, the very intelligent, very attractive, very scientifically minded Pim Jansson, who is both hot and Swedish. That's beside the point. And some other bull character that was involved in that study. There you go, 2019. I thought it was 18. That's the last one that was published. It's also hilarious because on the front page of that paper, it suggests that Pim is the holder of an MSc, which she is, in nutrition. She's also the holder of a bachelor's degree in biomedical science as well, by the way. And then beside my name, it says MSc, which is not right. I don't hold an MSc. I hold 3 advanced research degrees. None of them are MSc. Anyway, there you go. It just goes to show you how poor the research publications are. They can't even get people's qualifications right. That was a paper that was done by Pim as a student. I was the supervising lecturer, or one of 2 supervising lecturers that she had on that research project. Myself and another professor. Anyways, that's for another day. Yes, that. I think we've covered that one off. Yes. Yep. That's right. But I played the game because I know you guys like that kind of thing. Anyway, we've got about 5 minutes left before I have to go and do something else with my life. It was a 2-hour time slot that was available. Unfortunately, Leo couldn't last that long because he basically couldn't understand what the requirements of behavior were. I was quite clear, I thought. Anyway, there you go. Good evening. Good to see you. I hope you enjoyed that, Rob. Yeah, stop writing Just Trust Me, Ro. I've seen that. Thank you. Yeah. Age is not an argument. For what? Let's ask life advice from 12-year-olds. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Right. Beautiful tie. Thank you very much. Do you like my tie? It's nice, isn't it? I have a number of fine ties. This is one of them. This one is, I think I'm right in saying this one is a limited edition. I think there's 5 ties like this. I might be wrong. This might not be one of the ones that I got that was a limited edition one. Maybe this is a production line tie. Anyway, it's very nice. I agree. That's why I'm wearing it. I like this color. I like the pattern, the old paisley. It's good stuff. Fits in with my age, as does the winged doings here on the jacket cut, and the fact that I'm wearing double-breasted and not single, and the fact that I actually have proper, what are they called? Points on the collar on my shirt. They don't go sideways. Like, kids today. I don't know. Indeed. Lol. Very funny, sunshine. Yes, it was very funny, wasn't it? Haha. Oh, because it's the only way I can try and make myself understood by that idiot. Really? And because it was entertaining for my audience who like that kind of thing. And I wasn't acting like an idiot. I was showing that I wasn't an idiot and that he was. Did you miss that somehow? Seems you did. Okay, try again. Watch it again and see which one of us is the idiot. Because one of us really isn't. Again, perhaps you should look up the definition of the word idiot before you use it. This is the thing about words. They have definitions. They have meanings. Okay? Good. Glad. Yeah, well, not everything's going to please all the people all the time. I have a range of different styles in my videos. Some of them are instructive. Some of them are designed to be more commercially attractive, clickbaity, view numbers, subscriber numbers based. Some of them are debates like this one where we get to swear at idiots. Pick and choose. Show some discretion. Watch the stuff you enjoy. Don't watch the stuff you don't enjoy. That's pretty straightforward, I would have thought. Yep. So why are you making a mention of a citation here? To what end? What's your point? I could cite things too. Some of them I even wrote. Quite a few of them. But that's for another day. Yes, thank you very much. I try. Ask my mum. She'll tell you how trying I am. I'm here all week. He's right, you know. He's here all week. He never goes away. Does anything. I get no time to myself. Ted, that's not true. You get plenty of time to go and twiddle the knobs. There you go. Good boy. Not twiddling. Excellent. I have a specific type of autism, apparently. Yeah. Which he just clearly demonstrated. No hate here. Just pointing it out. No. Nothing I've just done has anything to do with autism. At all. Or my particular presentation of autism. That's not correct. Sorry, Kami. It's just, that's an opinion again. Okay, can anyone see my messages? They get deleted. Yes, we can. And clearly they're not being deleted. Something very important to say. Have you? Let's hear it. Okay. Won't answer a simple question, just trying to be difficult. Yes. Dairy is very addictive. That's an opinion. It may well be correct for some people. Yeah. There's another example of a paper which I might have been involved in some way. Goodness gracious. That one goes back a while. They're not hard to find. There's quite a few of them out there. And as I say, some of them are in the name I'm using here on the YouTubes, like this one. And some of the papers I've published aren't. For a number of reasons, which we won't go into here. Fruit tastes like shit. No, it doesn't. Goodness gracious. What kind of fruit are you eating? All right. Yes. Yes. Oh, look. Goodness gracious. They're coming out thick and fast, aren't they, Jonathan? There's another paper I might have been involved in some way. Goodness gracious. Shows my interest in Swedish women too, doesn't it? Look at that. All right. Oh, here we go. Bart called out Leo's character. Yes. Well, Leo has done things I can't post. We'll try again. I'm not sure what you're saying there. I thought you said you had something important to say. Smash the like, people. Yeah, do what you like. I would like to think that most of you like it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Anyway, that's long enough. I'm out of here. I've got other things to do. It's the top of the hour, and I'm due somewhere. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your time. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, oh well. Join me next time when you might enjoy something that I do differently. All right. See you then.